if someone smokes like near someone and harms them with like the smell and possibly dangerous effects, will that person be given from the smoker's good deeds? That's like he's harming the other guy, providing the other guy like is trying his best to like avoid it. Just like a little.
Can you give example? I did not understand your question.
You're like next to like maybe like your father or something. You start smoking, and then like you start like coughing because of like because of like the smell and like how it's like really bad for your lungs.
So what are you asking about? Is your father sinful for that?
Yeah, no, I'm asking like because he smokes like in the house like right next to the room to me, and sometimes like the smoke comes to me and I breathe in it and like it harms me, like my lungs start hurting and I like it has a really bad smell as well.
Okay, so of course your father is sinful for that because smoking is haram, and if he intended to harm you, he would be sinful for harming you as well. Whether you will take from his good deeds on the day of judgment or not, this is in Allah's hands. He's your father after all. If he was a stranger, I would have, yes, said probably you will take from his good deeds for harming you and harming the environment and harming himself, and most likely he wouldn't care. Someone who's indulging in such a sin, do you think he would care whether you take from his sins or not? He's blinded by his sin. Now, when I see people, I was the other night, a couple of nights ago, I was with my relatives, and we were discussing how prices spiked. So one of the brothers was saying that, how much is a pack of cigarette? I remember it used to be like 40, 50 years ago, 1 riyal. And the others laughed at him. They said it ranges between 18 and 25. And the other one was telling me, do you think this is expensive? In the UK, it's approximately something around like 15 or 20 pounds. That is outrageous. Who in his right mind would pay such money for such filth? That's not natural. You know, if you give soft drinks or some juice to a 5-year-old child, they would drink it and love it. They won't vomit, they won't cough, they won't fall or faint. But if you give a cigarette to a 12 or 15-year-old child, not an infant, a 15-year-old child who never smoked before, and he inhales, the first puff, he would probably faint or go into a seizure of coughing and attack, and his eyes would go red, and Allah knows, maybe he would vomit. Subhanallah, how shaitan manages to change people's nature so that this child, who few years ago had this reaction, now enjoys a puff of a cigarette after a good meal or while drinking coffee or tea. And he finds this one of the marvels of this life to enjoy. How shaitan changes and transforms their nature, their purity into enjoying such filth. Subhanallah. So people, they change their nature. They don't care if they give others their good deeds because they're blinded with their sin. Make dua for your father and try your level best to give him da'wah in a nice and diplomatic way.